A lot of local businesses are struggling in 2026 because they are fantastic at what they do, but their people cannot find them on the internet. So in this episode of Humans of Growth, I'm joined by Megan Bedford, the co-founder over at Home Services Marketing Hub, to talk about what actually works for home services businesses and just local businesses in general right here, right now. We talk about Google reviews, local search, old school marketing, websites, AI, and why the businesses that got lazy when leads were easy are the ones that are struggling now. Let's dive into the episode. Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Allie. Happy to be here.
Megan, I introduced a little of the professional side of you, but tell me in a sentence or maybe a story, who are you as a human? What is bringing you joy right now?
I am a mother of two teens, a dog. I live in Colorado. I was born and raised in Vermont, so I'm an outdoor enthusiast. So when I'm not doing marketing, I love skiing and backcountry skiing and anything in the woods, mountain biking. That's what kind of grounds me and fills me up is being outside.
So I've heard about backcountry skiing. Is that just skiing on like flat surfaces and a lot of leg muscle?
So there's a couple different things. Backcountry can be like cross country in the woods with just like some cross country skis. They're not too wide or anything, but then there's true backcountry, which is called skinning. You put these like sticky skins under your skis and you climb way up and then you can rip the skins off and ski down. It's really fun. So.
Okay, there's so much more. My version of skiing is let's go to a ski resort. I'm going to go up the little thing and I'm going to tumble down the mountain. Is as good as I get with skiing. I'm impressed with anybody who can ski even halfway decently. And it sounds like you're, fantastic at it.
In Vermont, you start at before you can basically walk. So just been doing it my whole life. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. So pivoting a little bit.
Yes.
To marketing. With home services businesses, we've seen the marketing industry change dramatically, whether it's home services or pick your other industry within the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Within the context of local businesses and home services, what have you seen fundamentally change?
Wow. Well, the COVID years, post-COVID years, there's been a huge change. And I think what I've seen most is that the companies that really focused on their marketing strategy, meaning their digital presence, being AI forward, focusing on a lot of those important things, even when times were really strong, like transitioning from COVID to now, are the ones that are kind of rising above. The ones that got fat and happy during COVID and got lazy in their marketing are actually the ones struggling right now. And a lot of the calls I get right now are, we're not getting enough leads. We're not getting enough business right now. And that's becoming, it's like all of a sudden they're just like, it's not working anymore. The things that I was doing before aren't working. And some of them I find are with antiquated kind of agency partners and that aren't really AI forward. And as the search changes, and I think that's what we're entering to the most change right now is search is changing. How people are searching for things. They're using, of course, all different ways to find information now. And AI search engines are absolutely on the rise. And if you're not doing the right things and you're not being recognized there, that's a challenge for these companies. So visibility is definitely a challenge. And then what I'm finding is traditionally, like we went away from direct mail and all of these things that were traditional marketing, and those are actually performing really well right now. I don't know if we're just so inundated with so much information online that there's been a shift back to some traditional marketing that's performing like between 15 and 30x, which is amazing. Jeez. So I know.
Okay, I like
fantastic.
Those are the numbers I like.
Yeah,
to hear.
those are amazing. So go ahead.
No, and it's interesting you say that because I keep on thinking it's like with all the tech that's come out, people miss all the old school way of existing and being, and that includes the marketing of like my mailbox, apart from the fact that I only check it like every 2 weeks, there's not a lot in there the way there used to be 20 years ago where you pull it out every day and it's a stack of mailers from God knows who. Now it's 2-3 pieces of mail. So if you're doing like physical mailers, for those 30 seconds, 2 minutes that somebody pulls out their mail, you're only competing against 3 to 5 other businesses for people's attention.
You're so right. And like now with display ads and everything, we're just so used to scrolling. Like I don't pay attention to those ads at all, you know, that are attached to articles but when I take it, like when I'm finally done with my day, I go to my mailbox and I pick stuff up, I'm calm. I'm looking at it. I'm paying attention. So that's a little different. You're exactly right.
I like it. I appreciate that. That's kind of like the one thing where there is this weird shift back to
right,
because it's like I'm surrounded by tech bros and all these AI guys because I do a lot of like cold email outreach, and it's like these tech bros build massive businesses in 90 days because they're on 7 energy drinks and living in their mom's basement. And it's like I grew up in traditional marketing starting in like 2007 with like website code where if you make a mistake you got to go sort through 20 pages of code to find the mistake. I'm not going to say I miss that, but there is a slower way of marketing that I think people miss a little bit.
Yeah, let's be real. I mean, if you're a home service company, you have to be seen, right? So if somebody has a need, they need a plumber, like they're not waiting for that piece to come. They're going online, they're searching your business. But that doesn't mean so when we look at companies with marketing budgets and they have room and they're showing up well on their LSA and their paid search and their GBP and organic looks good. If there's room in the budget, direct mail is one of the first things that I do after that.
I love it. So couple of different ways for local service-based businesses, home service providers to market themselves. 3 of the biggest ones, Google Business Profile, so GBP. Local services ads. So what you said, it was LSA, and then website plus content plus AI optimization, which is a whole slew of 17,000 things.
Yeah, you and I could talk about that for a long time.
We would be here until sunset, and we have a couple hours before that. So let's start with Google Business Profile.
Yeah.
This has changed a lot because SEO has changed a lot from what used to work doesn't work anymore. And Google rolls out new guidelines every 30 seconds.
Yep.
So that being said, what signals does Google actually care about when ranking local businesses on Google Business Profile on that little map pack that you see when you type in yard care near me?
Yep. So there's many different ranking factors in there. And what I find right now is so many people have aligned with agencies that are doing a decent job with SEO on their website, and then they completely ignore GBP. And GBP is so important right now. And so the biggest thing is you have to know with GBP, you are going to rank where you're physically located and then maybe some outlying towns, but you're not going to rank in your whole market. That's just not going to happen. So my tips always for GBP are make sure that your categories are fully filled out. A lot of times I go in there and it's just like the primary category, you're a plumber. Well, there's still like drain service and hot water system supplier, which is water heaters. And, there's all these other categories. So make sure you're filling out those categories to tell Google who you are and what you do. Your description's really important. So you want to mention the town where you're physically located in, and then some surrounding towns. And then what are the types of jobs that you want to be doing? What brings you the most money? Those are the ones that you should be mentioning. I would say 2 areas where it's just always a miss is the posting. So on GBP, you can do these Google Business Profile posts, and these posts shouldn't just be like what you're doing on Facebook and Instagram. They really are building trust signals with Google, and you're linking those to your website. Sometimes you're linking them to a blog, depending on what it's about. And I always say, your job as a home service company has changed. You want to provide helpful information to consumers. So maybe that's thinking about all the frequently asked questions that you get, or maybe that's answering a helpful tip for someone on how to fix their drain in their bathroom, that's clogged.
Yep.
So that is like, and then what you do is you would link out either to your drain page, or you'd link out from that post to a blog where you're talking about something similar. And what that does is it connects the dots to Google. Someone told me a long time ago, like, treat Google like a kindergartner. Don't confuse it. Well, so many times what I find is like, the GBP will have all this information, and then the website doesn't match any of that information. And so all you're doing, if you're thinking about it, you're just trying to link information from LSAs to GBP to the website, so that Google is building trust, so that when your customer goes out and does a search for a plumber in New Orleans, like, it can say, ding, 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 like, you're the most authoritative company, because you're connecting all these dots talking about plumbing in New Orleans. So I think that's where it's a miss. People don't realize, like, this is all about building trust, putting out helpful content, telling people, not only consumers, but Google and AI, what you do and how you do it. Another thing with your reviews on GBP is, I always tell people, we got so used to mentioning the tech. Oh, so-and-so did such a great job, At the end of the day, that's awesome. But we want the customer to mention where they did the job and what type of job they did. That's what's being pulled from Google and AI. Like, that's what is helping you rank, is mentioning the type of job. And of course, I can't not say this about GBP. Your reviews, the quantity of your reviews, matter so much and consistently responding to all those reviews. Like, that's probably one of the most important things if you think about this year. Like, you have to have a consistent strategy and system to get reviews consistently, because you're being ranked against your competitors that are.
Right, 100%. And if you're not getting a review, you're missing out on so much business right there. And you need to know and if you're afraid you're going to get bad reviews, then you need to change what you're doing when you're meeting with your customers.
So true. Yep.
Because I think there are a lot of contractors who don't necessarily ask for reviews because they're afraid of what people will say.
Yeah, we're all human, right? Like, you're going to get
all human. Yeah,
you're going to get negative reviews, and you know what's happening now in AI? When I'm looking at how people are searching for home service companies, they might get a referral to your company, but how they're using AI right now, your customers, is they're saying, "Hey, what do you think about Joe's Plumbing?" And and so they want to know the chatter out there, and what AI does is it gives the good and bad of the chatter. So just because you have a negative review doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Everybody does. And so it's just really important to note, like, it's just that you want to have a strategy, a system in place, and you want the majority of your reviews right now going to your Google, your GBP.
So what should that system look like?
There's lots of different systems. So you could use Service Titan. You can use, some of our customers use Pulsem. I mean, there are so many different review sites now. If you are a Service Titan customer, it's a pretty easy, you send out a survey after. But I think what's happened is consumers are getting like really inundated with surveys, and so they don't really respond to them. Yep. And so you have to get the technician involved. If you don't have that technician asking for review, so we recommend like putting a sticker on the back of an iPad or a iPhone and having a QR code that links to the Google business profile. And then just have it scan. Now, here's if you can take it a step further and ask the customer to post a photo of the job, that's even better. Yep. But that's a lot of work. These technicians have a lot to do anyway. But at the very least, if the technician's not getting involved, I'm finding that the review strategy is slipping because customers aren't like, yeah, I have tons of time. I'm going to respond to that review. That sounds great. So you have to get the techs involved.
Yep. And that's where it's like the tech is like, yes, you're doing the gig, but you're also responsible for customer service and customer experience.
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, you did a job. Now what? Don't just leave the customer and disappear off the map. What happens if you go follow up a week later, just manually text them, hey, loved meeting you, saw your dog Fluffy, so cute. Would you do me a favor and leave us a Google review? Here's the link.
Yeah.
Or do like a back and forth to be like, hey, is everything still working the way you want it to?
Exactly.
So that you can make sure that the answer is yes and they leave you the 5-star review that you want.
Yeah. And I think for some businesses, reviews aren't as important, whereas home service companies, they're everything. They're your ranking. They're how consumers make decisions. And so I think emphasizing that to the homeowner is valid. Like saying like, look, our business, we live off reviews. It's so important to our ranking. And if someone told me that and they walked into my house, I would have no problem. Yeah, of course I'll write you a review. But a lot of time consumers just don't realize how important it is,
Absolutely. So going back a little bit to content posting on Google Business Profile.
Yeah.
What's the frequency on that?
I think 2 to 3 times a week is good.
Okay.
Minimum, I'd like to see 2 times a week.
Okay.
So, and really, I want this to be thoughtful. There is a book I love called Endless Customers. I don't know if you've read it, but that book I highly recommend for anyone like building out content. But think about, don't just post to post, think about what kind of information do I have really great information about tips for homeowners, and like we take for granted, we know all this stuff in home services, yet consumers don't. And they're constantly searching for information. So I think just taking some time and making a blueprint chat. I mean, AI is amazing for coming up with ideas. Tell them what type of business you are, what kind of things that you're really good at, what kind of jobs you want, and they'll come up with some great content for posts.
Right. And I think you hit on something that's really important, is that as business professionals within whatever your industry is, all the information and all the how-tos backwards and forwards. It's common sense for you. If you're a plumber, 99 times out of 100, you know how to unclog a toilet. But I live in a house by myself. I have no freaking idea how to unclog a toilet. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to Google, figure out how to do it, realize I don't actually want to do that myself. And I would rather pay somebody $150 to come do it for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So it's just really important, the content piece. And blogging, has become really important again as well.
I have questions on that in a second. But before we go there, I want to pivot a little bit to all the things that are off the website, to local services ads.
Yeah.
What are those? How should people be using them?
Yeah. So local service ads, almost every category with home service is available in local service ads. And when you do a search and you look at the top of the search engine results page, there's usually 2 spots and it says sponsored, but you don't really see that. And they have the reviews next to them. Those are the ads. And what triggers those ads is a budget. So behind kind of in the platform, you have to do a background check on your technicians. So that's one of the things to get it live. It doesn't cost you anything to get your profile live, and it links to your GBP. So it is directly linked to your GBP. So all of the reviews from your GBP show up on your LSA account. So
to clarify real fast, local services ads is technically different than regular Google pay-per-click, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wanted to make that clarification.
Sometimes you'll hear them called Google guaranteed ads.
Yes.
And so what it is you don't have as much flexibility as you do with pay-per-click. So the beauty is, though, they come up first. And that's why I think they're really important. And typically the cost per lead is lower than pay-per-click. Okay. And so how you show up there is you fill out all this information on the back end. And a big part of it is like your zip code area. So you can come in. It doesn't matter in your GBP that's going to show more where you're physically located. You can show up in your entire market for your LSA. Okay. And then you put a budget in based on how much you're willing to spend a month, or a week. It's based on a week. And obviously, the more you spend, the higher your budget, the more you're going to show up. Now, this is a rotation with Google. It's not just like the highest bidder wins. Okay. And there's a lot of different services you can turn on, whether you're a plumber, HVAC, electrical, painter, whatever. And so what happens is that a big part of you showing up there, there's like 4 factors. So one is where you're targeting. So your zip code radius or how you're targeting, you start by county. And then what your budget is. But I'm going to go back to those reviews. Reviews are so important. So we're really looking at the velocity of reviews and then do you respond to the leads that come in? So the customers that get leads from LSAs and they don't pick up the phone, Google starts to not trust that customer. And they're like, well, I'm not going to serve them up for these ads. They're not answering them. They're not booking these appointments.
Right.
So it's really important that every lead that comes in, whether it's, you can turn on text messaging, you can turn on like reserve with Service Titans so they can book right in your CRM from these. And you can also have phone calls. They don't go to your website. So this is only a lead, and you're only paying when a lead comes in. It's not like a pay-per-click ad where you're paying when you get clicked on. You're only paying when a lead comes in. And so reviews are so important, and making sure that you pick up the phone. My recommendation is never turn these ads on after hours if you don't have an after hours call center. I call this LSA purgatory. Like when I go in there and I see that your ads aren't showing because you can look at the impressions of your ads. Right. I'm like, Google, you did something that Google is just really ticked off about, and they are not going to show your ads right now. So you kind of have to build up trust. Okay. Another best practice strategy is if you're multi-trade, let's say you're a plumber and HVAC company, I would set up separate LSA accounts. I would not be running to the same one, because let's say it's the heat of the summer and you want to turn off your HVAC ads because you're too booked up, but you need plumbing ads. You want the flexibility, and you can't toggle one on and one off if you're operating under the same LSA account. Okay.
So you technically need a separate, even though it's all under Google Business Profile, you can have separate LSAs.
Yes.
Okay.
You can have separate
LSA for each category grouping-ish.
That's right.
Okay.
And they're all attached to the same GBP, but you want some flexibility in there, and pausing the ad or maybe changing the budget for one versus the other. So I recommend keeping them separate.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah. This is game changer for people. I love this. Yeah. So with that, how do you think about budget, and because I know with pay-per-click, budgets are all over the place of how much a lead costs. Same with Facebook, Instagram ads. What are you generally seeing in terms of ads, but recommended budget spend, and what they would expect for a cost per lead? And obviously it varies depending on where you are in the market and specific services.
Yeah, some companies are super dependent on their LSA because if you don't show up very well with GBP.
Hey guys, real quick, this episode is sponsored by Parison Network. Parison Network is a matchmaking service that connects businesses to marketing agencies that will actually get you results. There's over 50,000 agencies in the United States alone, and picking the right one can feel, pretty impossible. Parison Network simplifies the entire process by doing all of the vetting for you. From the initial agency search to interviewing and vetting the top marketing agencies to getting proposals and helping you with the discovery call, Parison Network does it all. This way, you end up partnering with a marketing agency that actually delivers outcomes, not empty promises. If you're ready to stop wasting money on marketing that just doesn't work, visit ParisonNetwork.com and get your free agency search started today. That's ParisonNetwork.com, PERISSON network.com.
You're not getting mentioned in AI. You don't show up in organic at all. Like, you're going to be relying on paid search, and LSA, you should max out that budget. I love LSA. I say to max it out before you max out paid search for sure. If you're showing up, it's hard to show up in those top two spots a lot of the time. So it rotates, but not everyone. If you're in a really competitive area, it can be hard. So rule of thumb is we've seen people with cost per lead on LSAs $30-$40 all the way up to about $120 per lead. Okay. And it really depends on how competitive it is in your market. So if you're in a major metro and there's a ton of competitors, it's going to be more expensive. It's also how well you're showing up, like how often you're being seen. So that's one thing to think about is the actual cost per lead. Now on a return, I'm seeing anywhere from like 4 to 10x on LSAs typically. Whereas pay-per-click, I'm seeing more like, if you're running a 4 to 6x on pay-per-click, I would say that's pretty positive. I've seen LSA perform better. than a paid search. And now when you look at the, search engine results page, the reason I love the LSA so much, not only because it's a lower cost per lead, but it shows up first and second. It shows up before anything else. And that's a powerful spot to be in.
I love that. So then LSAs and then Google pay-per-click. And
there's usually like one pay-per-click ad above the map section, but not always. And then there's the maps, which is GBPs, and then true organic, and then you'll see more pay-per-click.
And then more pay-per-click. And then from there, it's just a spiral.
And then you're just like screwed, pretty much.
And then
I'm just kidding.
No, but it is what it's.
Nowhere's land.
I'll have to double check this, but at some point, Google has played with turning the pages off, and it was at some point, I don't know if it still is, an infinite Google scroll where you can go 1,000, what used to be 1,000 pages deep, and at that point, nobody's clicking on any of that.
It's crazy.
Okay, so that's LSA, and then website and content. So I wanted to go back to something you had said with Google Business Profile of linking the content from Google Business Profile to your website. How important, if you're not a website person and you're not like, I love writing content, how important are those the backlinks from Google Business Profile to your website?
Well, again, it's all about putting out helpful content and like frequent content, right? Yep. So your website stays pretty stagnant throughout the year. And the two changes you would say is like, if you're doing a blog, that's adding fresh content to the site. If you're doing GBP posts and then linking to the site, and I always say to use local photos in that, like use local photos in your post. Don't use stock photos. And then you're linking out to your site. That's actually technically fresh content linking to your site, telling Google who you are and what you do. And so for me, it's, that the content, many times when we do audits on companies, I spend a lot of time on their websites and, a lot of time mobile too, like you're at least 50% usually usage is on mobile now, for home service companies, unless you're in a very rural area. But that content, especially, the homepage is where the majority of people, if you were going to look at Google Analytics on 100 home service contractors, what you'd find is all of them, the majority of their traffic goes to the homepage. I mean, so much of your traffic is going to the homepage. And it's shocking to me the things that you don't think about putting on your homepage, telling people who you are and what you do. And it's like, you can be physically located in your GBP in a town. You're trying to rank in that town because you're physically located in there. And then you don't mention that town at all on your website. And it's just like, Google says to you, Google's like, I don't trust you. You're not saying this. We just did an audit this morning. I just saw that. It was just like, they were trying to rank for a major metro, but they didn't even mention the town they were located in. I was just like, that's a miss.
Why? Like it's a SEO problem, it's a marketing problem, but then it's the human problem of I'm on your website and I'm looking for a plumber or a therapist or you name it, and it's like, I love your content, but I can't figure out if you service my area or not.
Yeah, exactly. Those little questions that you have. So, and then you see a company with these amazing reviews on GBP and they're nowhere to be found on the website. Like all of a sudden they're just like not mentioned. And all of these things, like thing about home service companies is home service companies have usually great warranties. They have labor warranties. They have all these kind of things they stand behind that separate them from like a chuck in a truck or, or financing right now. Like, but yet you go to their website and they don't mention any of it. And sometimes I'll see it in the About Us page or something like that. And I'm just like, that's a miss. We have to tell consumers, just don't assume that you do these things. And so mentioning it, I think, is really important. It separates you from everybody else.
And it goes back to what you said of like, this is common sense for you as a service provider in XYZ industry, but that doesn't mean your target audience and your clients and your customers know anything about that.
Totally.
Like you almost, and it sounds really condescending to some degree, but you have to talk to your future clients, your future customers, as if they're 5.
They do.
And they know nothing. And it's not in condescending, but you have to assume they don't know what you do. They don't know who you help, if you can help them. They don't know how you help. So you have to really break it down, and also like ditching most of the jargon in the breaking it down.
Yeah, because it's a quick decision, right? Like someone has a problem, if they've got water all over, they're going to make a quick decision. So one of the things you want to think about is the call, is it easy to find the phone number or click on a mobile site? And then I'm a real, if you're over $2 million, I'd like you to be investing in some sort of online scheduler. I think it's really important. People don't want to pick up the phone and talk all the time. And if they can book online, that's a huge advantage. And then, I think price transparency is so important, and the industry has avoided it for years. And it's true. Like, you're not going to call an auto mechanic and say, hey, I need to know how much this is going to cost. They don't know until they diagnose the issue. And it's the same for home services. But I think what we need to do a better job in this industry is at least giving a range, what they could expect, or, is a diagnostic fee waived with a repair? Being more transparent versus like, why are we so secretive about it all? And then the CSR answering the phones won't even say, like, they won't even mention the price. No, we can't talk about that. Well, you got to be able to talk about it a little.
I need a, and this is where it's like, not all industries can give you price transparency. Like, marketing can be a hard one to do. But when it comes to like, I am going to fix your toilet, give me a range between $100 and $300, or is this going to be, because I can't handle a $0 to $1,000 range.
Yeah.
Narrow it down. If like half the time I'm going to know what the problem is, I just don't have the tools, the knowledge, or the desire, usually the desire to do it myself.
Yeah.
So give me like some sort of, and that's great, easy content that shows like, what does it look like for once a month you publish an article about, hey, here's what to expect to spend on this problem in this city. And that's really great AI content as well.
It is. Price transparency is huge. There's a little spot on your GBP. It's called services. And you can actually fill out all the services you offer in there, and you can make custom services. And there's a little place like where the price is like from, you can do starting at and $300 if you want. And that's just great to put out there as content that not only AI could grab, but Google's grabbing, and, an AI summary. But I always tell customers, fill out 5 a week services. You're not going to fill them out all at once, but take your time with that. And I think I love quoting software for installs. That's becoming pretty popular in home services right now, giving like a good, better, best. Doesn't mean that that's going to be, you still have to go out and evaluate the home. Right. The size of the system matters. All of that matters, but at least a customer can get an idea now.
Right. Because you also don't want to waste your time going out there if the customer's budget, if there is like a third of what you charge.
100%.
So like, how can you best use your time? And yes, it's a range, but starting point is a good place to start.
Yeah.
So when it comes to website content for AI and content for SEO, what does it look like to create content for both AI and local search?
Yeah. So it's really shifted, right? So providing helpful content to the consumer is really where it's shifting. And I like to think about, usually when someone's trying to get a home service company or looking into a home service company, they're thinking there's a symptom. Usually there's something going on. Yep. Like, we use terms like slab leak in plumbing, and yet does anyone even know what a slab leak is? No,
God, no.
They don't, but they know the symptoms of a slab leak. And so they're going to be seeking out those symptoms on search, whether that's AI search and so are you addressing those symptoms, first of all, on your pages? FAQs are great for AI. So many sites I go to now, they don't have FAQs. That's just frequently asked questions that you get. And they shouldn't be cookie cutter. These should be specific to your market. And all this is you as, and I'm going to give the digital agencies a little bit of credit here. You can no longer just rely on your digital agency to take care of your SEO anymore. Like before, when it was just like keyword geographical area, like fine. But now with all of the helpful content needed, like you better get involved. I want to see before and after pictures. I want to see local testimonials from customers. Are there specific issues that you run into certain towns in your market versus other towns? Maybe it's hard water or whatever. But that's where you have to partner. You can't expect digital agencies to know all of this information. It's just not.
Right.
Now and it same with blog topics and everything else. Like I want to guide that information. So the agency should know how to do all the markup and like the schema markup and everything that's helping you structurally rank, right? That AI can read your site. But then where you come in, and this is Nancy and I coach on this all the time, like you have to partner now. And it is more work and it's harder and it takes more time, but it's important because it's going to separate you from everybody else out there.
So here's my question. I just went to Google and I typed in how to fix a toilet. And because the first thing I get is YouTube, Ace Hardware, Reddit, because Reddit is always going to show up, DIY Playbook. None of it on the first page is a local business.
Yeah.
So that being said, what's the benefit of posting the helpful content when you don't have a chance of ranking above either a nationwide brand, a DIY? What should your keyword targeting be when you're a local business? Of like, how do I create helpful? Because I'm not like, as a consumer, I'm not typing in local.
Yeah, there's a great site called Answer the Public. Have you ever heard of that?
I'm familiar.
Okay. So you can go and research a topic and you can see the most asked questions regarding your topic. So if HVAC's what you do or plumbing, you can go and you can see all the questions across North America. It's really, I think, the United States. You can also target like cities. You just might not get a huge, you might want to expand out to a larger area. But that's a great starting point. Another starting point is you just did that search. And then did you see below that people also ask Google?
So I see people also ask, but none of it is local. Like none of it's local to me here in Nashville.
And that's maybe there's just not a lot of content built out on a local level too. And so when you start to when I look at Google Analytics, it's shocking how much blog content gets referenced in traffic. But again, it's about being that kind of trusted advisor and showing up in these, AI, because Google just didn't give you an AI overview, but a lot of the times they do, and they will reference those local blogs. Depending on kind of where you're searching and how you're searching. It doesn't happen every time, and it's still building. What I don't want to do is I don't want companies to be left behind by not doing these things right now, if that makes sense.
Right. And I know I was looking at some data with like, when does AI or Google give the AI overview, and it gives it about 20% of the time, and it's primarily with like informational and how-tos.
Exactly.
Is what I was seeing compared to like navigational, commercial, and transactional.
Yeah, and videos are huge right now. And so, also how-to videos and answering questions that customers have, they're getting highly indexed by AI. And I think that's important. I think so many times we forget how important video is. So we're really coaching customers on, if you have the budget, if you've kind of exhausted these other forms of marketing, definitely start partnering with a video partnership or implement a strategy. A lot of companies are now hiring in-house content creators, which if you have the budget, that's great too.
Okay, I love it. So let's say I'm a home services contractor and I know I need to start doing marketing. If you were to start from scratch today, which is a lot of people, more than we like to admit, what do the first 90 days look like?
Well, first you have to get a name, right? And so the name is actually super important, and a lot of people don't realize this. We worked with an electrician in a major metro, and one of the reasons they were ranking so great is because their name had the major metro in it. And so when you're choosing that name, I think you can do an obscure name that has nothing to do with your trade. But if you can have the major keyword in your name, like plumber or air conditioning, That's really important. And then if you can tie it into the geographical area, that's even better. So first thing is like choosing that name is more important than you think, right?
Okay.
Then you need to have a website, and simultaneously as you're creating your website, a GBP. So GBPs are free. It's really easy to create. And then once you have that, and you really want to, who you align with as a digital partner first. And I don't recommend really doing it yourself to start. There's lots of different options. But who you align with is kind of everything. And I see so many people make a mistake where they're going out. They start with a company that's like a 6 to 10 grand retainer a month. Don't do that, guys. You don't need to do that. That doesn't mean that you're going to just start ranking everywhere, and you really kind of need to define that budget. So let me start over. You would do name.
Yep.
I'm not going to go into the whole LLC, all that stuff, because you got to do that. That's the legal stuff. I'm just talking marketing, but the name does matter with marketing. And then the URL, Nancy and we offer through free 30-minute audits. So if anyone ever wants to know, like, who should we go to for an agency, we're happy to help you, like, no cost. So I didn't mean to put that plug, but
you're good. Plug away. You're good.
I always find, like, my favorite thing about this industry, I love helping people, especially startups, because I see startups make so many bad choices and spend so much money on silly stuff, and you just don't need to start. So website, agency, and then really thinking about, like, your target area. You're not going to, I'm in Denver. If you're not going to market the entire Denver metro area to start. You're going to pick some maybe small areas. Where you put that physical location is so important. It's so important. Like, is that where you want to do business? Because again, your GBP is only going to show up in that location to start. So if you want to do business in a small rural area, I say that's awesome, because you can rank a lot better than a major metro. So website, GBP, LSAs later. Okay. You won't start to rank well until you have 100 reviews on Google. Like, you won't even start to get, so you need to get that review strategy in place. So a lot of it's going to be grassroots, or like efforts, maybe next door neighbor, maybe look, any kind of community forums, a small direct mail, like going around like a very small area and trying to focus on that. But again, it's starting really micro and then moving out more macro. I would never try and be everything to everyone at first, because it's too expensive. No. You won't be able to do it.
And that's what people forget is marketing is expensive at the end of the day.
I mean, a lot of home service companies pay $100 when the phone rings. $100, That's a lot of money. And so you better have a plan in place, and so that I wish there was like an easy answer, but those are the first steps I would make. Starting to interact in sites like Reddit, that's a great way to start to be seen. Go into forums and start answering questions related to things that you have a lot of knowledge about. So there's a lot of different ways to show up, but I wouldn't just go start throwing thousands of dollars into paid search and LSAs, because it's just not going to work from you from the beginning.
You need your foundation. You have to have your foundations built.
Yeah.
There's so much, especially when you're a local business, there's so much guerrilla marketing that if you're willing to take the time, and not everybody is, that's my disclaimer. A lot of home services are like, no, we just want to throw money at the problem.
Yep.
But like I say, it's like, if you're pressure washing somebody's house, take flyers, stick them 10 doors down, 10 down each way. Like, what are the things that you can do that are dirt cheap and that just require a little bit of your time? If you're replacing a sidewalk, if you're redoing the inside of somebody's house, before and after, go back. Hey, last week we did da-da-da-da. Stick flyers. Don't touch their mailbox. That's federal property. Stick it in their door, please.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I also think I always say, do a quick competitive like analysis, and where can you be like a little niche in this market? So maybe there's something that you're just really good at and you can come in competitively priced compared to your competitors. Lean on that, own it, talk about it. Make it yours. Like, that's how you grow a home service business. You can't be everything to everybody to start. It's just too competitive. If you're in a small town, it's amazing how quickly you can rise to the top. If you're in a major metro, it's going to take a lot of different strategies than it does small town.
Yep. Don't try to be Walmart when you can be Trader Joe's.
That's right. I love that.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this show today. If people would like to connect with you further, what is the best way for them to find you?
homeservicemarketinghub.com, and we offer a free 30-minute audit. So you can bring any question about your marketing to us and we'll answer it for you.
Awesome. Perfect. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Humans of Growth.
Thanks, Allie.